Optimism is starting to soar for Auburn's offense this offseason, but will the running game follow suit? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike Ian. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. Joining me is my partner in crime, Ike Jones, to talk some Auburn football. We're talking Auburn's run game on today's show. We're going to talk about who projects where in that room and what we expect from that group this year in the second half. Let's start at the top, Ike. Look, before we get into who we got on the roster and where they'll be slotted on the depth chart, let's talk about expectations for this room this year. The run game was underutilized, I think a lot of Auburn fans would say last year, with Jarquez Hunter averaging 6.4 yards per carry, but only getting 187 carries on the season. That was a disappointing number for a lot of people. And to kind of put it in perspective, only two backs in all of the NCAA averaged more yards per carry than Jarquez Hunter. Again, the qualifier being they started at least half of their team's games. That was Ashton Jeanty and R.J. Harvey, 7 yards per carry and 6.8, respectively, for those two young men. Omarion Hampton at North Carolina also was pretty far up there. But look, Jarquez Hunter was a beast. Damari Alston can be a beast. What do you expect from this Auburn running game? What should fans expect from this Auburn running game this year?
You're going to get probably running back by committee a little bit more than a bell cow type of thing that they had with Jarquez Hunter last season. But you are going to get some kind of thunder and lightning, I guess. You know, a lot of people like to say Damari Alston's more of the between the tackles, probably tough yardage back. And then you're going to have Jeremiah Cobb, who is the speed guy. He can run between the tackles, but he's more of the off tackle, around the edge, home run threat, I would say. Not shifty, but definitely quick. And then you've got some good guys that are going to be coming behind them that are, transfers, seldom used previously because they were walk-ons or whatever. And you got true freshmen, of course, coming in. I think you're going to get a good running back by committee this season.
I know Auburn fans are going to want to see the quarterback run the ball a lot less this year, which means more carries for the running backs, certainly. Now, last year, as a group, they were under 2,000 yards rushing. That number, if that number is around 2,500 as a group this year, I think you'll see some pretty good results on the field. But let's jump into who we expect to rise to the cream of the crop here on the depth chart. First up, for the running back room, we've got Alvin Henderson, the young man, the true freshman. This is one of the crown jewels of this recruiting class for Hugh Freeze, coming in here in the fourth spot. We saw them play Jeremiah Cobb a lot as a freshman. Do you see the same kind of time for Alvin Henderson that Jeremiah Cobb got?
I think that's going to be interesting because I have him slated at the number 4 back. I don't know about the same amount of time, but I do expect Alvin Henderson to be utilized this year. I talked about thunder and lightning, or whatever you want to call the combination of the two different running styles. You basically have the balance of that coming off of the bench, right? You've got someone who is going to be more of a speed guy, a little bit shiftier than Jeremiah Cobb, but a guy who you can utilize in a variety of different ways. Not that Alvin Henderson can't run between the tackles. Again, not that Jeremiah Cobb can't run between the tackles. He is a smaller back, though, so I think they're going to be utilizing him as a small back in those types of packages. But I do wonder, if he's going to get a lot of playing time, if Darrell Robinson is healthy enough coming back off of that injury, if they're going to play 4 running backs a healthy amount this season. Unless he rockets up that depth chart between now and, the end of the season, I expect him to redshirt, honestly. Like, I think that Henderson, when people hear, oh, I expect a guy to redshirt, they immediately think that you're saying he's not talented enough to play. No, that's not what I'm saying. I think the 3 guys in front of him are just talented. And so Henderson may have to wait his opportunity just based upon how the distribution of reps have been at Auburn thus far. You didn't really see a 4th back utilized, right? I know you had your one guy and then you had the other two getting sparing reps behind him. I expect the distribution of RB1 reps to go more to 2 and 3. I'm not sure if it gets to a fourth guy, though.
Yeah, look, Alvin Henderson, yeah, extremely talented. Heard a lot of great things about him this offseason. It's going to be interesting to see how much they work him in there. But running back by committee seems to be the approach that we see from a lot of coaches here. Hugh Freeze's offenses work best when there's a 55-45 run-pass ratio in favor of the run. And that's contrary to what a lot of people believe. They like to sling it around, but they also like to run a ton of plays too. So hopefully there's enough ball to go around for everybody in this running back room. Either way, I'd like to save Jackson Arnold's legs and put that load on these guys here. Let's get back to our list here. After Alvin Henderson, here's a name that a lot of fans may or may not know, but he joins this group of running backs that aspires to do a lot in the SEC this year, and that is Darrell Robinson, the transfer from UConn. Now, we all know UConn is a powerhouse at football.
Yeah, I mean, they've got championships upon championships right over there at the UConn Huskies football program.
Yeah, can he play basketball?
Right, because that's the only way he's got a championship wearing a UConn jersey.
All jokes aside, this is a very talented young man that joins this group here. Looking forward to seeing what he could do. Talk to me about Darrell Robinson. What does he add to this group for Hugh Freeze and Derek Dix?
Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds, transferring in from UConn, 731 yards last season, 6.8 yards per carry in that. With only one fumble, Auburn fans. He carried the ball 107 times and only fumbled it one time, right? So definitely a guy who has had good ball security last season. But I think he's going to, again, give you another between the tackles option there, right? So for those of you who are worried about Damari Alston and his supposed fumble problem that he has, you've got another guy who can come in and get you short yardage, tough yards, and holds on to the football well, according to what the statistics say. People like Darrell Robinson in the transfer portal this offseason. He wasn't the number one target for a lot of people out there, but he was high on the list of a lot of teams out there. And again, he's coming off of an injury. So it is something that he's working his way back in, but expect him to be back into full speed by the time the season begins, getting those RB3 reps there for Auburn.
Yeah, Darrell Robinson, again, a highly touted transfer that they wanted him. They definitely wanted him. They scouted him out. You need depth in that running back room with Jarquez Hunter. He leaves a big hole to fill. Those are big shoes to fill. Jarquez stayed relatively healthy throughout his career at Auburn, but you've got to plan for attrition. And so when he came in, I heard some murmurs about, do we need another running back? Yes, you need another running back. So Darrell Robinson helps them fill that void. Let's move along here. We've got Alvin Henderson, Darrell Robinson, the transfer from UConn. Henderson is a true freshman coming in from high school. And next on the list, not a surprise to anybody, somebody we've mentioned before, Jeremiah Cobb. Jeremiah Cobb looking to get RB2 reps, maybe even RB1 reps at some point. We'll see how it goes. But he is a very versatile back. We've seen him catch passes out of the backfield. Like to see him run between the tackles a little bit more. He's got speed. He's got good strength. Talk to me about Jeremiah Cobb and why you see him in the RB2 spot this year.
Yeah, I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it by sticking around. This was a guy who, if I'm being honest, and I've said it on the show before, if you've watched the live streams, that I was concerned about whether or not he was going to return to Auburn and not exit via the transfer portal last season, because his ties to the university, as far as his recruitment were concerned, were with Cadillac, right? And he's a guy who had not had a lot of opportunities up until this point to be able to go out there and showcase what he had. A lot of people were really excited about the athleticism, the speed, all of the things that he showed and displayed in his freshman season at Auburn. And we're expecting him to be utilized a little bit more in his sophomore year. And that just didn't materialize. Again, a lot of things that plagued that offense last season, and the running back room as a whole suffered from the lack of snaps that were happening out there. And just the nature of a guy like Jarquez Hunter who doesn't come off of the field. So You don't get a lot of opportunities for those running backs behind him. They started going to some 2-back sets a little bit last season. Not sure how much of that stuff you're going to see this year, but I do expect for Jeremiah Cobb to be able to be a guy that factors in fairly heavily in this race for the running back room because of what he possesses in his change of pace from what you're going to see from a Damari Alston, right? He's a guy, I said it already, home run threat. Like if he gets a crease, he can take it to the house. He's got game breaking kind of speed. But I do want to see him be able to showcase his ability between the tackles a little bit more and see whether or not that's something that he can do consistently enough to be that RB1.
There were murmurs about Jeremiah Cobb quietly maybe testing the portal waters to see what was out there for him. But ultimately, it seems as if this staff was able to sell him that we've got a defined role for you in 2025. You're going to get your time. Jarquez is gone. And, I think if you're Jeremiah Cobb, you got to look at what Damari Alston was last year and ask yourself if you would be happy with that amount of carries and in that role. But I think he's got some flexibility here to get on the field in spots where other guys cannot. I mentioned him being a good pass catcher. What do you think about Jeremiah before we move on as a pass blocker, right? Will this allow him to be on the field a little bit more this year?
He wasn't asked to do it a lot last year. He was not on the field a lot in those types of scenarios. He was okay, right? Yeah, he wasn't bad, but he was okay. But he's not someone who I sit and look at the film and say, oh, man, this guy is really – he's got the blitz pickup. Just because, again, he didn't get those opportunities enough for me to be able to evaluate him in that way. But I don't feel like the reps that he had – like if I'm looking at his PFF numbers right here he was really only asked to run block for the most part, and those weren't really great grades. Like a lot of the times when he was on the field, it was situations where he was either getting the ball specifically on some sort of speed sweep or they were in that 2-back set and he was really run blocking more than pass blocking. But that is, to me, going to be a huge part of who's going to play the most at running back is who's going to be able to pick up the blocking assignments, especially if you're not going to have tight end featured as much in this offense this coming season.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to here to our number one spot. We've got Alvin Henderson, Darrell Robinson, the transfer from UConn, Jeremiah Cobb, the incumbent returning, and to nobody's surprise in that number one spot, we've got Damari Alston. He was the clear RB2 behind Jarquez Hunter last year. He projects his RB1 this year. This is a guy who, when Hugh Freeze got here, he said he's better than we thought. They took a look at him. He had not coached these guys a single down, but he took a look at Damari Alston and he said, man, we've got a player on our hands here. Now, we know what he said about Jarquez Hunter before he coached him a game. He said, look, Jarquez is already the best back I've ever coached. Damari Alston, talk to me about this guy right here. Yeah, we've talked on our show about whether or not he can get his fumble concerns under control. But he's got the speed. He's got the strength. We know he's got the work ethic. He's got the overall talent. Do you see holes in his game? And how does he project this year?
Yeah, listen, I'm a fan of Damari Alston. I think that he is the most complete running back in this room, right? Doesn't mean he's the most talented. Not saying that he's the best running back. Not saying he's going to have the best Auburn career. Damari Alston is the most complete running back in this room. He does a little bit of everything, and he does it all fairly well, right? As far as the fumble concerns, he had 52 attempts and 2 fumbles last year. That's not great, right? Like, that's not a great, like every 26 carries, he was fumbling the ball, according to that statistic.
Yeah.
Right? That's not great. In his career, he has 129 attempts and 3 fumbles, right? So this idea that he's just got this fumbling issue, I think I understand where it comes from, right? But I don't think that it's valid enough for it to be this prevailing concern. Now, again, I've said this before. He has a really good opportunity to quiet all this down by going out there and just not fumbling the football for the vast majority of his carries this season and putting that to bed. I think he's committed to that. But I love all of the things that he brings. And you ask about holes in his game. I think the only thing that I see as a significant hole is I don't know that he's got the home run ability. I don't know that he's a guy that you turn around and hand the ball off to on the 20-yard line, and a couple of seconds later, you're looking up and he's running 80-yarder, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think he can give you 40 to 50 yards out of that, right? But I think somebody's going to run him down eventually. Good speed. I don't think he's got breakaway speed. And that's the only thing that I would say is a knock on him. He just doesn't have that next level gear.
Yeah, look, speed is something that he actually worked on this offseason. So it'd be interesting to see how he progressed to there. But look, when you talk about this room, and I'll put the graphic up one last time, and for our listeners on pod, look, Alvin Henderson, Darrell Robinson, Jeremiah Cobb, and Damari Alston. That is your running back room this year for your Auburn Tigers. These guys are going to have some expectations on them based on how well the passing game has progressed this offseason. So they will be looked at to help control the clock and maybe carry the load down the stretch to close out games. We'll talk about what their expectations are right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of the Auburn Express is brought to you by our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's right across the street from the Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to Renfro's Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. You can also visit our friends at the Rogue Shop. If you're looking to relax, go to rogueshop.com and use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Our guy Richard, longtime sponsor of the show. We appreciate him for sponsoring this segment. And our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com and use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights. Code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Spring is here. Summer is on the way. You want to be outside making memories with your family around the grill or just getting in shape. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Let's jump back in here. As I mentioned, the Auburn running back room will have some expectations here in 2025 and maybe looked to at times to help control the clock. Big misconception about Freeze offenses. They talk about his QBs slinging the ball around the football field, Ike, but you know, like I know, they're not shy about running it. They just have not produced a ton of he hasn't produced any 1,000-yard backs at the P4 level as far as we know. So when you talk about this running game, say what?
Before last year.
Yeah, except for last year in Jarquez Hunter. But prior, he had that stigma on him about not having 1,000-yard backs. Well, certainly, I think that when you look at what they do this year, there will be an expectation that they can continue to produce from that position. But as much as they did produce, there was a feeling that they did not produce enough. The run game produced 1,986 yards last season, and that number needs to go up. 283 of those were Peyton Thorne. So you had around about 1,600, just over 1,600 yards that were on the running back. That number needs to go up in 2025. Talk to me about the buzzword here from my interview with Hugh Freeze, the reasonable expectation for this running back room this year coming. I think we got to see them north of 2,000 yards as a group. That's extrapolating QB runs. It's got to be on the 2,000 yards from the running backs alone, but as a floor, but more.
Yeah, I mean, and their floor, ceiling, whatever is going to be limited by what the offense is doing as a whole. How well are they calling plays? How well are they executing? Being able to get into good run situations? How much can they run tempo? A lot of what you see from Coach Hugh Freeze's offenses as far as running back productivity honestly came as a result of tempo, right? You get to the ball quickly, and rather than trying to call a play after you get that first down, you just turn around and hand the ball off really quickly before the defense can get set, and you get yourself into a 2nd and 7, 6, 5, maybe pop one for, a really another quick first down type of thing. You haven't seen a lot of the Hugh Freeze tempo yet since he's been at Auburn. He hasn't had the ability or the trust in all of the pieces to do that. This year, number of snaps the offense takes is going to be you're going to correlate that a lot with how much the running backs are getting and how well is this offense doing with not having to play from behind so much. So you afford yourself the ability to not have to throw the ball to get back into the game all the time.
Yeah. Look, only 61 carries for 276 yards for Damari Alston last year. Darrell Robinson, over 700 yards rushing last season. So sneakily, he comes in here with more game experience in the last season than anybody you have on your roster currently if you're Auburn. Is there a chance that we see a shuffle here? Could Darrell Robinson somehow climb this depth chart and be the leading rusher in this room?
I mean, I think this is all in the hand. We talked a lot last year about Peyton Thorne, and it was his job to lose, right? Like, it's his job. He has to fight to keep it. I'm going to say that same thing about Damari Alston right now. And there's a similar amount of skepticism as there was going into Peyton Thorne's final year at Auburn about what job he was going to do as there are about Damari Alston and whether or not he can be running back 1 for Auburn. It's his job to lose, though. He has earned the right through, people like to talk about loyalty to a program and you want to see guys stick it out and not transfer. Here's a guy in Damari Alston who did that. He's had multiple opportunities to transfer out. He's been loyal to Auburn. He keeps coming back. It's his opportunity right now. And I'm not saying play him because of that. I'm saying I think he's actually earned that and he's got the talent to be able to do it. But if anybody usurps him in this, it's because they outworked him, not because they've earned it more than he did as far as the longevity and the ability. If they go out there and impress during the fall, then yeah, give them the opportunity to go out there and make the plays. But I think Damari Alston's up to the task.
Knowing Damari, I think there's very little chance that anybody's going to outwork him. Now, he's got all the physical gifts, but you got to perform when the time comes. And we've seen a lot of guys who have that thing, but when the lights are on, that's when it counts the most. And so if he can show that when the lights are on, something tells me he's going to have more than his fair share of opportunities come August 29th when Auburn opens against Baylor in Waco to show what he can do with the football. Because when you're on the road and the crowd is raucous and they're trying to throw you off your game offensively, it is a absolute advantage to be able to lean on the run game, Ike, and let the running backs control the flow of the game and quiet the crowd with every first down that you run, every big run, right? Every 5-6 yard run, just chip away at them until you wear them down and then run them off the field in the second half. That's what you hope happens. You hope that's the script that they play by here come the season opener, and Damari Alston is going to have his say in that.
Yeah, and another thing, didn't mention this when just kind of talking about the strengths, weaknesses of this running back room. One of the things that you're going to miss from what you had from Jarquez Hunter was the yards after contact. And a big portion of what you're going to hope happens with this offensive line this year is that they create more yards before contact for this running back room, because I think that this is a room that if you get them to the second level, they can do damage. To me, Damari Alston is a second level bruiser, meaning if you match him up with linebackers and defensive backs one-on-one, he can run through them, run over them, fall forward for additional yards. Now, again, I don't know that he's got that Jarquez Hunter run through you and then break it for another 20, 30 yards after it kind of thing. But I don't know that anybody in this room has that yet. But I do believe that if the offensive line can create 2 or 3 yards before contact, you're going to see that average yards per carry for those guys falling forward or running around, whatever, be around 5-6 yards per carry for this room as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be a good number. As I mentioned, Jarquez Hunter over 6 yards per carry, 6.4 yards per carry. Damari Alston averaging 4.5 yards per carry in his career. But again, a lot of that in spot duty. I think you'll see that number go up quite a bit this year. And I expect him to average well over 5 yards a carry in this offense. So it's going to be fun to watch what they do in the run game. The offense has got to take steps forward, all aspects of the offense. And we put a lot of emphasis on talking about the pass game. We reviewed the wide receivers, talked about what that room looks like. They're going to get their shot. But when we talk about the run game, we very rarely talk about how this improved pass game is going to take a lot of pressure off those guys at running back as well. When you're a true threat to catch the ball down the field and over the top, suddenly those play actions are a little bit more effective, right? Those lanes start to open up. And then when you have a guy who's not assignment sound on defense, you see Damari Alston bust through to that second level. We've seen flashes of this a few times in his time at Auburn. One time he fumbled at the end of a really, really long run. Refresh my memory. Which game was
Arkansas.
it? Oh, yeah. He got loose on the sideline, and I thought it was it. He fumbled at the end. But when he gets to that second level, it could be lights out. And if you've got a dangerous passing game, I think you'll see even more of that from these running backs.
Yeah, I think that exactly what you're saying. The threat of the wide receivers and the ability of a couple of those guys, Singleton, Malcolm Simmons, even a Perry Thompson, to just catch a quick screen and turn that into a first down on 1st and 10 or a quick 5 or 6 yards means that you've got to devote more guys to the outside. Then when you talk about the speed of those guys and you add Cam Coleman into that factor of being able to go over the top, whether that's run past you or just outleap you at the end of a route, you've got to make sure that you've got safeties deep so that you're not getting Jackson Arnold, quick fake right there in the belly of the running back, sit up, and then he's just going to throw it 15 yards downfield because Eric Singleton's run past the guy already and he's streaking down the field already, right? You've got to respect that consistently, which means we no longer can put 7, 8, 9 guys in the box, all right? So if it's 9 guys in the box and you've got the threat of the run of Jackson Arnold, who is a capable runner, that means your running back is going to be seeing a lot of one-on-one responsibilities, things happening. And all it takes is that linebacker taking one false step to the wrong gap, and you're off to the races, especially with some of the speed that you've got in these running backs in this room.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, going to be fun to watch as always. That your running back room, guys. Alvin Henderson, Darrell Robinson, Jeremiah Cobb, and Damari Alston, your Auburn running back room this year. All eyes will be on these guys to see what they can produce. All eyes will be on us here at the War Report as we cover it. Guys, I want to thank you for watching us today. Thank you for making us your first listen of every day. Do us a favor, if you're in the comments after the video, smash that super thanks button and help support the work that we're doing. And if you want more content like this, please hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. Signing off, and as always, Warriors.